What's up, boys?
How's it going, guys?
What's up?
Another day. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Victory Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely,
Feels good coming in off a win, right?
Especially against the Cowboys.
Yeah, in a primetime game. We already got a comment coming in. What's up, Dustin? Who day, man?
What's
Who
up,
day, bro?
Dusty?
All right, boys. Well, we're back. It's episode 12, season 2. And, this is one of the rare episodes this season. We're coming off of a win. Or it feels rare.
Yeah,
All right.
very rare.
Yeah,
But
man.
Bengals got a big win last night. Monday Night Football primetime against the Dallas Cowboys. It was, I think, quite literally the ball bounced the Bengals' way for the first time all year.
Finally. Much needed,
Yes.
because I got a pretty good feeling that don't happen. There's a good chance Cowboys getting field goal range and
Nah.
walk-off field goal, win the game, probably.
Defense was going to get a stop. Joe was going to get some time. And
Yeah, you got more faith than I
either
do.
way.
I think that they did a pretty good job stepping up there the couple times that they did in the second half, man. I mean,
Yeah.
kind of is what it is, man.
What's sad is I think they played, by league standards, a pretty average game. The missed tackles rate was still higher than the league average. But this might have been one of their best games all year. That's sad.
Yeah,
But you know
I agree
what?
with that.
They biggest game of the year, arguably. I mean, kind of last week was. But that was, defense got some stops, and we know if you can get some stops, this team can win a lot of games. They just have not done that much this year at all. Let's dive in. Well, I think we start with the offense. Go ahead, Ray.
Bingo Bob was going good, man.
No, you're good, man.
He's got the glasses back this week.
He
I
does,
do.
man.
For all the OG fans, you know,
Try to keep me calm.
glasses, Bengal Bob's trademark.
Yeah.
Try to keep me calm.
I mean, I don't. Where do you want to start, man? I mean,
Well, let's start with Joe Burrow in the
I
APC.
mean, it looked after they're playing absolutely phenomenal football, man. I mean, the future of which we were talking about earlier between Joe and the two Chases, man, that's where it's at, dude. I mean, he's slowly progressing and getting better week in and week out to the point where now, those guys, they got to they got to look at his number, man, and account for Chase Brown. You know, I'm not saying we're threatening. We have a threatening running game, but we're starting to establish a running game that needs to be respected. You know, that's for sure.
They could at the very least have a very efficient running game.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to Zach Taylor and his play calling. You know, and his
I honestly think Chase Brown might be the biggest thing to come from this season has been the emergence of him. Because, I mean, let's be honest here. Like, as Joe Burrow's playing at MVP level, Jamar Chase is hopefully going to win the Triple Crown. But we knew they were that good. That's honestly what the reason why Burrow got paid. And I'm not saying that like in a cynical way. But, like, I mean, Chase Brown legitimately is a hit. I mean, they hit on a running back that potentially could be one of the best all-purpose backs in the NFL.
Super explosive, got the burst. I mean, like, he's coming on strong, and that's what we need. You know, there was a hell of a stat that came out that, and Joe Burrow's like 70-plus games. He's had a 100-yard rusher 8 times.
Yeah, in 72 games.
You think about that, that's crazy. They've only had a 100-yard rusher 8 times out of the last 72 games that he started.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of figuring it out together, though. You know,
right?
And in Zach Taylor's defense, you know, he's a passing-minded guy.
Yeah, it's not his offense.
Well, and one of the.
But what that shows is because our defense hasn't been that great for a majority of the time. You know, in a perfect world with a good offense like this, you know, you're scoring through the first 3 quarters. You know, to get it to build a lead, to try to run away with the game, and then, you know, the fourth quarter, you just sit back and pound the ball down their throats. You know, and that's
right.
That stat clearly to me stands out, showing, you know, we've been in a lot of fucking damn close games.
Yeah,
a lot of close games.
We're 2-7 now, I think, on that one score or less. You know.
Yeah, I think that is 100% a stat that is indicative of the style of offense this team plays. And to what you just said about, especially this season, with the defense, they're almost never playing ahead. So, when, like you said, in the fourth quarter, when most teams are, you know, at least 2 or 3 out of every 5 or 6 games, you get to run your 4-minute offense where you're looking to, you know, control the ball. And the Bengals, unfortunately, haven't been in that position a lot. They've been in this is a tie game or we're behind. And the only thing we have going for is Joe Burrow, which taking it into Joe. Go ahead, Ray.
No, I mean, I agree, man. I agree with you. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this all could have been avoided, man, this whole season. In my mind, this season, our record does not fall on the players, man. I think it falls on some coaching, and I definitely think it falls on our front office. Why did we have T. Higgins this year? Like, if any one of you guys can answer me honestly, why we continued another year with T. Higgins and not paying Jamar Chase? Like, were they still making up their mind who was the better receiver before they decided to pay Jamar?
No.
Is it?
No.
Because now we got to pay him more. Because now we got to pay him more than what we could have paid him last year. You know, again, it's whether it's not taking risk or just being fucking scared. It's one of the two, because we shouldn't have started this season with T. Higgins. We knew the problems we had. Again, did we think magically Baltimore was going to send us some special safety? Like, the moves we could have made just with T. Higgins alone.
Dude,
you know,
I was screaming at the trade deadline. They knew it was wrong. They could have fixed it.
No, I fully agree with. Go ahead, Bobby.
One of the biggest things that stayed out to me about the offense last night is how bad our offensive line really is. And I know that they went out, they've tried to get free agents, they've tried drafting, but once again last night, Joe Burrow was running for his damn life the whole game.
Constant duress.
Game.
Well, before we get too far along, I wanted to touch on what you were just what you just said a second ago, Ray. I was going to say, I fully agree, like, about how the narrative and perception of, like, coming into this season was with everything. The only part I disagree is that I think the T and Jamar thing, obviously they're tied together, but I think they're separate in the eyes of the franchise, because I think that the team obviously values T. Even you've heard Duke say it in the past, and I think the team would like to have T. Like, I don't think there's any ill will there on either side. I think it was as simple as Jamar's case is separate. They were working on a deal. Jamar's in a complete class of his own, and they couldn't get that deal done for whatever reason. And we've heard several things. We've talked about that ad nauseum. But the T thing, I literally think it was as simple as when they realized they weren't going to be close on a number, the Bengals said, we get to keep you at least for 2 years if we wanted to with a franchise tag. And yes, they're going to pay you $20 million, but that's cheaper than what he wanted, and that's a lot cheaper than what Chase is eventually going to get. So I think that like Burrow's comments last night play right into this with the T and Jamar thing. I totally wouldn't be surprised. Up to this point, I've stood on a hill that the Bengals aren't going to franchise tag T. Higgins again. They're going to try to trade away and get value for him, because if he hits the open market, he's going to get the number he wants, but you're going to get nothing from him. So you either franchise tag him after this year or you acquire something for him. Here's the difference. T. Higgins has an injury issue. Like that, I think that's a big factor that so many people refuse to say because we tend to lean towards supporting the players. I know I do. I always take the player side just about. I always say pay the players because otherwise it's the owners getting all the money.
Right,
it's the corporations getting the money.
He's not worth any more money this year from the product he's put on the field this year, right?
No,
I completely agree.
He was worth last year.
Yeah,
so
I completely agree.
Whether it's them not wanting to take a risk or playing family, playing daddy ball, playing whatever you want.
The difference is there's
we could.
The difference is Jamar Chase is getting paid no matter what. Even if they haven't worked out a deal, it's whatever negotiations are. They're going to pay Chase.
I agree with you.
That's not the case with T. You know what I mean? That's not the case with
T. When we could have gotten, a great trade on.
I agree, 100%.
First round pick.
And look, I'm not going to count it out. There's still a chance that T tries to hit the open market, and the dollars aren't there for him. There's a lot of teams who aren't going to willing to give him what he wants, which is wide receiver number one money and a long-term deal. There's going to be there's still a chance and an inside chance that T. Higgins is suiting up in the stripes next year. That's still a possibility. There's still a possibility.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I don't, again, that's why I said, man, I think we should have traded him before this season.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Right, because now he walks in, you don't get nothing for him.
That's what I'm saying is that the Bengals only have two options. They're not going to let it get to the point where he walks. The Bengals have never in franchise history let a player that was of value just walk. Never. Even look at Palmer. You look at Corey Dillon. They got something out of every one of those deals. So to me, the options are clear. Either they franchise tag him for a second year, which the Bengals have never done, right? They've never franchise tagged a player twice. Or you trade him and get some type of value, which is what Ray's saying you should have did prior to the season. Because, again, what my point was, nobody talks about the injury thing. And the Bengals obviously clearly were too narrow-sided to think, well, what if we do franchise tag him, create this conflict, but then he's hurt and doesn't play most of the year? And that's what ended up happening. You know what I mean? And that was worst-case scenario for the Bengals in a way, because now his value goes down in the offseason. You didn't get hardly any production out of him. And he's still not under a long-term deal.
It goes back to this front office doing the whole running back thing this year. They did that on defense and parts of the offense. Well, let's just run it back. Burrow's healthy. Well, let's see, make it happen this year what didn't happen last year because of his injury, which is obviously was an ignorant and wrong choice to do for this front office to try to run it back.
Yeah. I mean, that's the easy thing to do at the end of the day. That's the easy thing to do. But to speak to what Bengal Bob was saying about the interior of the offensive line, man, I agree, dude. It's Volson again, dude. I've not been a fan of Volson whatsoever his entire time with Cincinnati. And, I think Amarius Mims, I think he could be good. He is a big man, but at the end of the day,
he's got a lot of potential.
He's getting some great learning experience this year being a rookie. Going against some of the best defensive ends between TJ Watt, Parsons last night. I mean, there's going to be times where he gets beat because those guys are that good, and he is a rookie. Right. But that's a great learning experience for a guy like him. But again, when you got a shitty coach leading the way, you know what I mean? Like you just shooting him in the foot before he even walks out onto the field.
What's crazy, dude, is I think, and this may not be like a super conflicted response, but like I think Amarius Mims' floor is where Volson's ceiling's been to this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like his floor right now as a rookie with like, you got to think he started almost as much this year as his entire college career. Think about that. And this dude's already that good with that freakish size. His floor is where Volson's ceiling is.
Yeah. And obviously Cody Ford, man. They
trust him for whatever reason. At times he hasn't played bad, and then there's times where he's atrociously bad.
He's a bum.
The offensive line averaged a 36 point something in the first half last night.
Yeah.
Well, and kind of leaning, taking off of the T. Higgins talk we were just talking about. There was a point in time where I'm really concerned about, which obviously I'm still concerned because we still need another wide receiver on this roster to step up and be reliable. We thought Yoshi was that. Clearly, Yoshi's not that. He's starting to regress.
He had a better game last night.
But once again, if you have a healthy Chase and Burrow on the field, I mean, we hardly heard T. Higgins' name called last night. Tanner Hudson had some big catches, right? The tight ends came up with some clutch catches. Even if T walks the end of this year, I'm still not that concerned. I still think this is a really good offense.
Because I mean, that was a great pickup. We got that you called from last season, which was Gesicki. I think he just needs more reps, man. I think he needs more live reps. He's sharing that shit. How many catches did Drew Sample have? How many did Tanner Hudson have? You know what I mean? So he's sharing that repetition with those guys. And I mean, the more reps he gets, the better,
Eric All going down. If you notice, there's been a drop in Gesicki's production when Eric All went down. It's because we were running a lot of the 12 personnel, and you're able to get two tight ends out there. One, obviously, All was a hell of a blocker, and he was starting to catch the ball, but it was opening a lot of stuff up for Gesicki. Coming up to the midway point of this season, there's a good chance Gesicki was going to break some tight end records for this team. And then obviously the productions dropped once Eric All got hurt.
He has 40 plus catches right now, I think, on the season.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
T has around 40 some, I think.
Right. But Jamar, I mean, can we just give Jamar a round of applause? Man, I'll tell you, I'm pinching myself last night a few times. I can't believe this is our guy. I can't believe this is our guy, dude. Jamar Chase. And Joe Burrow for that matter. And Joe Burrow for that matter.
Jamar is leading in receiving yards, leading receiving touchdowns, second highest receiving yards per game average, most touchdowns by a lot. He's now 3 away from the Bengals all-time receiving record. And he would need, I think I saw somewhere he would need 8 touchdowns in the final 4 games to break the NFL all-time record, which is doable because guess what? He's had 7 in the past 4 games.
Knock on wood, nothing bad happens to Jamar Chase. He will be in the Hall of Fame for the Cincinnati
He's leading
Bengals.
receptions too.
And I think there's a good damn chance he'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, if he keeps this level of play up.
I mean, at this pace, yeah, for sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what me and Reg were talking about earlier in the day, Bob, was that, I mean, how lucky we really are, dude. I mean,
I know, dude.
To have Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, and then you have this other kid who just so happens to be Chase also. And it's like, dude, I mean, that, and I feel like they're all growing at the same time, right? Zach including in that as the offensive coordinator, right? In a sense that he's learning how to infiltrate and blend that running game in with his passing game. and he's got a stud to do it with in Chase Brown, and
a versatile stud for sure.
I like the positive talk of Taylor from you, man. That's nice to hear.
Watching. Well, again, he's starting to do what I've been fucking preaching, which is run the ball more. Because again, that's the best. That's the
technically
best
no, but yeah,
it is, because that's the best way to slow down a guy like T.J. Watt, Michael Parsons. If they have to respect their lane, their responsibility, they ain't just full gun and blitzing. So
yeah.
At the end of the day, though, man, like you can see it, he's growing, and
they've evolved.
Watching Jamar and watching Chase Brown, dude, they are almost identical in their acceleration and breakaway speed. Those guys take 2 steps and they're out the gate, full sprint. You know what I mean? And it's explosive to watch. The touchdown with Chase Brown and then the touchdown with Jamar Chase. I mean, dude, that was.
Deontay Devon said he won me some money last night. Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah. Boy, that was a blast from the past.
Honestly, yeah. Like, man, Jamar is so fluid, dude. Like, I think one of the most amazing things about Jamar, like, is just the fact that he almost doesn't look like he's trying, but dude's cooking. You know what I mean? And he's just so. And to what Ray was saying, like, that was one of the few things last night. I'm just laying there watching the game, and I'm just like, look at the difference in how this offense was. Just the beginning of the year, the end of last year, the steps they took in the run game while Browning was quarterback, and figuring out some of those 2 tight end sets that they were running with Eric Hall. That first developed when Burrow was hurt last year with Jake Browning and Joe Mixon. But, like, honestly, like, going back sort of intertwining the tight end talk, like, the 3 catches that Sample had last night, or 2 catches, were out of those predominant run looks they've had the past few weeks, where Gesicki's one getting the ball, and then here's Sample, and everybody on the defense is like, this dude's the blocking tight end. Yep. And instead, he's chip blocking, leaking, and Burrow hits him for like a 14-yard gain. He's like,
yep.
The first play, the first completion of the game was to Drew Sample. So it just shows you that, especially like Burrow taking the shot down the sideline to Chase Brown, like Zach and Joe and Jamar and T probably, but it's hard to tell because he misses so much damn time. They're like in the master class of this version. It's like the rookies and them are taking the 101 course, and then guys that like Yoshi and them have been here for a couple seasons, they're in the 202, and Burrow is now teaching the class himself.
He's a master.
And it shows. Right. I mean, him changing the multitude of looks. You could tell when Zach is calling 2 plays in the huddle and when Burrow's changing it, because the difference when he comes to the line, when Burrow's actually changing the play, Joe is motioning the change. He's the new call is the protection, the call, the play. Maybe he's calling the count, the snap count. When it's a 2-played call, it's just one check with me. Can it, kill it. And it's getting them in trouble sometimes, because there's been times where Burrow is taking too long at the line of scrimmage, or Zach's calling in 2 or 3 plays and it's taking too long to get in. I mean, that's been one of the repetitive downfalls of the offense we've seen most of the year. But they're at the point now, in my opinion, to where, like, this is probably going to finish one of the best Bengals offensive seasons in the history of the franchise. One of the best offensive seasons an NFL team has had, because it's part of the modern era, numbers are inflated. And it's just, I hope that they all can stay together truly and be healthy for the next 5-7 years, because the ebbs and flows, some years with the defense, some not, but this team could be all-time great.
And there's a lot of people that's disappointed, and you just got to chalk it up to what it is. This isn't like a bad era of football. It's just one bad season. It's just a bad season. I mean, it is what it is at this point. I know that real Bengal fans are upset because we all know that it shouldn't be a bad season if this front office would have just done a few things to help this team out.
I truly feel that 90% of this team's problem this year and the past few years is the front office. I really do. More so than Lou and the defense, and that's saying a lot. But Lou can only do so much with the people he's got, which is something Ray said over the past few weeks. Like, man, and especially in the NFL, everything's geared towards offense. So when you're bad on defense, it's especially ugly. And that's how you can near top 15 all-time points allowed per game, because it's the all-time offensive peak point, and you have one of the worst defenses you've had in a decade.
But let's not get it twisted. I still believe that his message has gotten stale to this team. This defense, more times than not, does not play with an edge. And if you guys want to go on into the defense, this defense does not play with an edge.
Real quick, before we go to defense, Bobby, I wanted to touch on Joe Burrow, where we all can.
Happy birthday.
We've literally gotten so complacent with how fucking good he is, dude. Even when we talk about it a lot. Because Joe is literally... The Bengals have not just an elite player, not just an elite superstar, an elite superstar quarterback, dude. I mean, that's like the rarest of the rare. That's like hitting the fucking lottery. And the Bengals have one who's from Ohio, who's bought into winning championships in his franchise. I mean, Joe is so fucking good, it's unreal. Whether he wins the MVP now, or 3 times the rest of his career, 5 times the rest of his career, or he never wins it, it doesn't matter. Joe Burrow is the best quarterback this franchise has ever had, and he's gonna be a Hall of Famer. I'm telling you, even if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, which God, I hope we do multiple. Burrow is that good, dude. I mean, he's unreal good.
Well, I know, and that's why I think, as far as you mentioned MVP, I do not see how that they can give another quarterback the MVP this year. I understand that, even though an MVP award is for an individual player and the production they've had in an individual season, and it's a regular season award, I don't see how you can give it to any other quarterback. I honestly believe that the MVP this year should be Saquon Barkley, because you can't give it to a quarterback who's going to have almost 1,000 yards less than him and 15 touchdowns less than him, and doesn't have the production or the numbers or the games to stack up. Yeah, but I don't have the wins, but that's more of a team thing as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like, I believe that it'll be a travesty if they do not give the MVP to Saquon Barkley, because you can't give it to Goff, you can't give it to Lamar Jackson, you can't give it to Mahomes, clearly, even though he's still being talked in the MVP race. You can't give him. No, it is an individual award for the production you've had, and Joe Burrow's going to blow them all out of the water when it comes to production. You have to give the MVP to Saquon Barkley. You just do.
Yeah, I think when it comes to numbers, there's only a couple of quarterbacks in the league that's even near him on some things in some categories. Geno Smith, I think, is about 300 or 400 yards behind him. I think Sam Darnold has been hit and sacked many times.
He's had a hell of a year.
And he's got a lot of touchdowns for not many interceptions.
And then you got Josh Allen rushing for 3, throwing for 3. Yeah, that's all good and well, but at the end of the day, when this season's over.
So conveniently, I have the entire offensive passing stats pulled up here for the NFL. So let's just take a quick gander, and then you can kick us off on defense. At the top 3 MVP leading candidates, which is Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes, right? Am I missing somebody? Okay. Right now, Josh Allen, the league favorite to be MVP, has 3,033 passing yards. Burrow has 3,706, 700 more passing yards, right, than the projected MVP. What about Patrick Mahomes? 3,189. Burrow has over 500 more passing yards than Patrick Mahomes right now. What about Lamar Jackson? 3,290. Joe has 485 more passing yards. So from 500 to 700 more passing yards than the 3 leading MVP candidates.
Yeah, I think the only thing Lamar is beating Joe in is interceptions, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's look at touchdowns.
He's thrown.
Josh Allen.
He's thrown the least amount of INTs.
23 passing touchdowns. Burrow has 33. 10 more. Double digits more passing touchdowns. Patrick Mahomes, 20 touchdowns. Burrow has 13 more touchdowns right now. And Lamar Jackson, 29, who's the second in the league. Burrow has 4 more than Lamar, who's second. And finally, which if I can scroll over here, let's look at their interceptions, shall we? Since everybody thinks that that's the end all be all. Sorry, my thing is messed up here. All right. Anybody want to take a guess on how many interceptions Josh Allen has?
Let's say 5 to 7.
Josh Allen has 5. Lamar Jackson, 4. And Patrick Mahomes,
11.
11.
Yeah, 11.
So here's the thing. Not only is Burrow crushing them in almost every statistical category, he's not turning the ball over at a higher rate than them.
Oh.
Terrell on Facebook. Who day, fellas?
Who day,
Okay,
Terrell?
that's enough Joe Burrow. But my point in that is just what both of you were saying, is that it's insane how good this offense is when you actually look at the numbers. And that's with a bad O-line and a defense that's not doing you any favors.
Terrible.
I've been saying
they're
for
just flat
years,
out
man,
terrible.
the MVP is nothing more than a popularity contest, man. It's been that way for the past 5 or 6 years. You know, it's turned into a joke like our Pro Bowl has turned into. But I mean, at the end of the day, I agree with Bengal Bob. You know, it'd be the first time in history you gave the MVP to a quarterback that got outplayed by another quarterback and got snubbed because of record. So by default, you look around the league, there's only one dude, and that is Saquon Barkley, without a doubt, to take that MVP, you know. And for them not to even be talking about him in that light, I mean, that's a fucking joke, man. Like, he's already just broke the franchise record for Philly. And I think he's got 4 more games. And if he averages 120 a game, he's breaking the all-time record. So it's like, to have that, to not be talking about Saquon Barkley when you talk about MVPs, dude, is a fucking joke. It's a joke.
Yeah. And what's sad is they've gone that way in college with the Heisman too.
Yeah, they have.
It's a quarterback-driven thing that they quarterbacks get too much credit and too much blame. That's the old adage, and it's true. But it sucks because all the major awards go the same way. What's shitty is we're gonna have 2 players that are in the top 5 running for Offensive Player of the Year because Burrow ain't gonna win MVP, and one of them's gonna rob the other of it.
So let's
There's your bet of the week.
Terrible defense.
Go ahead, Ray. Kick us off on this one.
No, Bobby started talking about. I kicked us off on offense. Bobby started talking about defense first. Go ahead, man. He's talking about Lou.
Yeah, I don't want people to get it twisted. Last night has happened few far between this year. Yeah, they had a decent night against a backup quarterback. That's all it was. I don't want people to automatically, magically think that, that's a big worry of mine, is that they're going to think, well, the defense, even if they get a little better down the stretch, there's a lot of changes. There's very few players on this defense that I would not get rid of for somebody better. Very few. We did see a lot of young guys last night play fairly well. That, haven't, like DJ Ivy and some other guys that haven't gotten a lot of play time, but I still believe that message has gotten stale with Lou, and I know the talent level plays into it. I'm not putting all the blame on Lou, but at the end of the day, this is still a very poor defense, and it's very poorly coached. I honestly believe that there was a huge chance last night that if that magical blocked punt shit that rarely happens in this league, if that don't happen, there's a good damn chance they move the ball into field goal range and sneak out a win by a field goal against us, and we come back home losers. That was on the table last night.
Absolutely was, man. And I thank the football gods or whatever you want to thank, man, that ball took the bounce that it did right at that Cowboy, and he decided to try to field it, But I mean, I agree with you, bro. Like, our coaching, it's pretty apparent, it just doesn't fall on Lou, because there's assistant coaches there, DB coaches, linebacker coaches. At the end of the day, man, but it starts from the top, and that's why I've had Zach so many times in the hot seat when it comes to the Bengals the last 2 seasons, because it comes from the top in certain ways. And I mean, it's just poor, dude. It's poor. It's a poor effort. It's a horrible display. You know, it looks like our defensive coaches have taken tips from our offensive line coaches. That's what it fucking looks like at the end of the day. And Lou might be the one that pays the price. I know you've been preaching that the last 3 or 4 weeks.
It should be.
You know, he might be the one that ultimately pays the price. And maybe Cincinnati cleans house, you know. If Lou's gone, if you here's where I'm at, right? Lou's lost his creativity, his imagination in a sense when it comes to being able to think outside the box and evolve, you know, the way that these passing offenses have evolved the last 2 years. And it's horrible what he's putting out there product wise. The same could be said for our offensive fucking coach, Frank Pollock. You know, I mean, if you're going to clean house, so if you're going to
I agree. Pollock needs to go too.
Frank better be fired first. I'd give Lou the respect of firing Frank first. Because in my mind, that if one's going, they both need to go, you know.
Honestly, not only do I 100% agree with that, I would double down and say that the first thing I would tell Pollock is if there's one position on the entire team that embodies their coach, it has to be the O-line. It has to be. Like literally, if the team reflects a head coach, well, guess what? Every position group does the same. But the most important one is the offensive line room. They have to be the closest group in terms of camaraderie. They have to be the closest group in terms of accountability. And I'm going to say this, you know, because just how Ray was giving Zach his flowers, I'm going to be negative to Zach for a second. In my opinion, one of the most important things that every good football team at every level has is accountability, right? And you hear that phrase a lot. You hear coaches say it, you hear players say it. It's like a talking point that people say, well, you got to have accountability. But what does that actually mean, right? What does that mean? That means that players, when you go in and you go into that locker room and you go into halftime or you're in the week of preparation, you say, hey, this is why this happened at this point because you're doing this right now or you're not doing this right now. And I've personally done that to players. I've had players do that to me. And I've had coaches do that to me. And the difference in good and bad coaches are that accountability to look a player in the eye and say, look, son, man, bro, sir, this has to get better. These things have to get better. This is how the analytics look. This is how my gut feeling looks. And Zach, this year, the culture, in my opinion, has not wavered. But there's a lack of accountability. And it truly has been on the defensive side of the ball. Zach has had to, and maybe he has, and we just don't know it, right? We don't know because we're not in the room. But there's a lack of accountability. And guess what? The offense has it. But why? Because of Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Because the players hold it. But there's nobody on defense holding each other accountable. That used to be GP. That used to be guys like Carlos Dunlap. That used to be guys like Geno Atkins who quietly held people accountable with his work ethic. You know, guys like Jermaine Pratt have lost that. Because guess what? Right. He's not playing well. You know what I mean?
No, he said there last week and wouldn't admit that there was missed tackles.
I know. And when you have a lack of accountability, all those little things keep happening. It's a revolving story. And it's like that in every job, every career, everything. It's like if no one cares, then why should I care? Even if I'm bought in and I'm the rah and I'm standing in the circle, and we've all seen players like that on teams where they're bought in the fun moments, the good times. But guess what? When it's bad times and you're losing and you're that, who's holding each other accountable? Yeah. Right now, nobody's holding anybody accountable on defense.
GP money is more like GP broke right now, bro.
Well, you know, and something that I'm kind of frustrated is why not see more of John Meta out there? We've seen enough of Geathers for the past 3 or 4 years to know what he's about. John Meta was a huge bright spot in the preseason and the training camp. Why not have him out there next to Pratt for some more snaps? I mean, why not? And that's a coaching issue.
You're letting a guy named Wilson start a safety, and you're letting practice squad players play against CeeDee Lamb on big moments of the game. You're out wide, schematically, literally guys that are fifth string players lined up against their number one wide receiver.
Right,
but yet
dude,
you won't let the guy who led preseason in tackles get snaps on the field at defense over Akeem Davis-Gaither, who's been a special teams player.
No,
makes
dude.
No
and
sense.
then his go-to, bro, was to fucking put Mike Hilton on him man-to-man. We saw how that ended.
Insane.
Touchdown.
Yeah, showed his age.
Insane.
You know?
But, you know, bringing up Frank Pollock, too, what kills me most of all about that, because our line looked soft against Micah last night. And, you know, their other Carl Lawson, you know, all those guys last night. And it's like, man, all that bullshit talk about glass eaters and glass eaters, this and that. I mean, come on, man. It's more like
this is an expensive O-line. They're fucking soft, bro. They're soft
as shit.
And Ted Karras would tell you that. If you were buddies with Ted Karras and you were sitting in a room today, I mean, you were watching the highlights, he'd be like, "Man, we're fucking soft." I can't.
Dude, back in the day, if for the shots that Burrow takes that are late and shit, back in the day, if Palmer took those shots, some of these other quarterbacks, Richie Graham or Big Witt, they would go up and jump a guy's ass for that. And you brought that up earlier, Jimmy Reg. It's like they don't even have their quarterbacks back, dude.
It's driving me crazy.
With that shit with last night and him getting his neck almost broken, the first thing one of them linemen should have went up and snatched that dude up. They should have snatched his ass up. So if you get a penalty, you get a penalty for it. It was fourth down anyways after that. We're going to have to punt the ball. Show some damn fire and that you got your quarterbacks back.
Yeah, bro.
Enough of the soft shit.
If this was the 90s, bro, that dude would have been lifted, driven into the ground. And
for sure.
What a joke, dude.
But at the end of the day,
it pisses me off.
Poor ass officiating, bro. This is prime time football. There ain't another game.
Burrow don't get the calls. Burrow just don't get the calls. We got to accept it.
These are supposedly some of the best referees in the National Football League that do these primetime games, dude. And he's still holding the ball at the line of scrimmage.
Well, it's 2024.
You have
it is 2024, and we still don't have full-time officials.
I mean, dude, I don't know how you have 5 officials staring at the location of the ball and no one sees that. Nobody.
It's not Mahomes.
Oh, Mahomes would have got.
Not Mahomes,
bro. He would have got 30 yards each day and have been first.
It would have been raining flags on that play if that was Mahomes. Just the way it is.
It's a joke, man.
But it was nice to see Trey. Trey got a big sack last night. Yep. It took the whole game, but he got it.
Yeah. Yeah, Trey's still leading in sacks.
Dude. His motor, you know, I mean, he gave that guy, you know, I'm sure that dude
getting chipped all night, double teamed.
You know, woke up feeling like absolute shit today. Like, damn, dude.
I got a question for you guys. A lot of people won't like this question, and I'm sorry. But, you know, obviously this defense needs rebuilt, retooled, whatever you want to call it. And you only have 6 draft picks. So, yeah, you're not even going to probably hit on 3 of those damn draft picks, knowing the Bengals. Trey Hendrickson obviously wants some more money. Obviously, we have to get a deal done with Jamar Chase. So to say the options on the table that we can trade Trey Hendrickson and get ourselves a little better than average pass rusher and a little better than average corner. Is that
okay? So before you or anybody answers that, okay, we got about 33 people watching across all 3 platforms right now. Thanks for joining us. We're live every Tuesday night. The rest of the season at 7:45. We're doing that. You know, we're live every Tuesday night, but we've switched to 7:45 before Hard Knocks. And yeah, come join us. Join the chat right now and join the conversation. We got about 15 minutes left. About 12 minutes. Okay, so let's take that a step further, Bobby. Let's play a little game.
Well, I won't answer his question, but that's fine.
You can't answer the question.
Right,
so right now, hold on. Right now, where we're sitting. Okay, Bobby's question, but a step further, in just a couple minutes or less. How do you fix this team? Rather it's through trading somebody like Trey Hendrickson and, you know, acquiring a different skill set, using the cap room, the cap space. What is it the Bengals do after this season to change the dynamic going into next year and or for next year and the longevity of this team. And that includes and plays right into your question about Trey Hendrickson and the options that might be there, because that's how you have to look at it, is a bigger picture of that. That has to be a piece to the entire pie. So that's for, we got about, like I said, 12 minutes left. So let's each take a couple minutes. How do you fix or retool or change? What is it you fundamentally are going to do to make sure that we don't have another season like this for a long time, especially not when Joe and Jamar are having the years that they're having? And back to the people watching, thank you for joining us. Throw your opinion in the comments, chats right now. I realize some people might be watching on their phones and they're not about that, but yeah. Who wants to kick off first? Ray, you want to go? You wanted to answer Bobby's question. Go ahead.
Take it away, Ray.
What do the Bengals do?
Keep going, Ray. What do they do, man? What do they do?
And this is assuming.
To answer Bobby's question, I think Trey is not a piece of it. And, to answer his question and to kind of answer your gesture there, so Trey Hendrickson is not a piece of that pie. What we need to get accomplished on the O-line and in our defense can easily be done with some of the other players that we have. T. Higgins being the top guy on that list. But again, that's saying goodbye to players like Mike Hilton.
You can't trade T, though.
DJ Hill, Miles Murphy, Osai. There's other players that are there that, if we needed to, yeah, man, we could, like you said, completely retool, rebuild, whatever we need to do. You call Marvin, call up, call him up. See if he'll come back to fucking Cincinnati to be our defensive coordinator, bro. No? You don't like that?
My argument to that is
you don't like that?
We know, because we've hit few and far in between and on the draft and in some of these draft picks. We have very few of our defensive draft picks.
My bad. I'm not talking about drafts, bro. I'm
talking about worked out.
I'm talking about all of it. All of it.
You can't trade. You don't get shit for T. Higgins unless you franchise tag him. If he walks out the door, you don't get nothing for him. So he's not a part of the equation.
No, we got to be able to bundle T. Higgins, and
you can't
him to a team like the Raiders for Max Crosby.
Guess what? You missed that opportunity.
Present him to Dallas for.
You missed that opportunity.
Is it over? Is it over?
You missed the opportunity to get anything for T. Higgins, bud. That's over.
You can't have to.
No. T. Higgins' value. That's what I said earlier. T. Higgins' value has not changed from last season to this season.
But we don't have the rights to him no more unless we tag him, Ray.
Right.
He walks out the door.
But they'll tag him. But they'll tag him.
The only way you can do anything and get anything out of it, you can't trade him. You missed that opportunity, Ray.
Well,
T. Higgins walks out the door and say Seattle offers him a deal. He walks away, takes that deal. We don't get shit for him, and we can't. We missed an opportunity.
I've been saying it for 2 years. T. Higgins is going.
Yeah, but it's too late for that. It's too late for that. We don't get nothing for T.
He'll be a Steeler.
It don't matter. He can go where he wants.
Well, you can trade under the tag.
Yeah, we would have to re-tag him to do that.
Right. Yeah, but I'm saying is that they'll tag him to trade him if that's what they were going to do.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Not going to let anybody walk out.
We need multiple pass rushers. We need multiple pass rushers. I think we're pretty solid at linebacker. Jermaine Pratt, his mouth's bigger than his play, but I think Logan Wilson is very solid. We need at least one shutdown corner on this squad, and we don't have it. And we need to get better at safety. And that's how you'll fix this team. You're going to have to somehow try to hit in the draft, even though we don't, but you're going to have to throw some money at free agency. You're going to have to get guys who say, hey, they got a hell of an offense over there. They have Joe Burrow. I'm a star pass rusher. I'm a star corner or a star safety. And I know their defense is trash, and I can help that defense. And they're going to need guys like that to come to this team in free agency.
Right, but our front office is fucking stupid, bro.
Hey, tell me about it. Tell me about it.
I mean,
they have some issues.
Here's the thing, right?
My opinion is, or your opinion, or Reggie's opinion. Any other damn fucking club, dude, would have paid Jamar last year. Would have
this offseason, this past offseason.
Not necessarily.
Most of them probably.
Jamar Chase would have been paid before this season started. You fucking better believe it, bro. If Jamar Chase was in Philly, he'd be paid. If he was in the Kansas City, he'd be paid. Hell, if he was in the Raider or Oakland in Las Vegas,
No, if he was in Kansas City, they'd have traded him away for draft picks and pieces.
No, he'd have been paid.
All the others, Reggie, Raymond, in another year, Justin Jefferson's been a star for Minnesota. Guess what?
Look,
here's the difference.
I got him.
Other teams.
Don't be using my first name, bro.
Other teams wouldn't have told Jamar they want to get a deal done. They would have just stood. They would have stood and waited for after his third year. But here's the thing. Here's how the Bengals.
Agree with it.
Here's how the Bengals. I'm agreeing with you. I think there are a lot of teams that would have paid him this year.
Yeah, right. But guess what, bro? He's about to take the Triple Crown. So guess what? How much more money we're gonna have to pay?
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Again,
here's how the Bengals fix this team.
Office being fucking stupid.
Right.
Go ahead, Bill Reg.
90% of this team's problems is the front office. Right. So here's the thing. Here's how the Bengals change the narrative to fix what they have going on right now. The first thing you do this offseason is you pay Jamar Chase as soon as possible. Okay? Whether that's $36 million a year, $40 million a year, because right now it's 35 at least. Okay? So you pay Jamar Chase the money that he's owed, and you get that monkey off your back. The second thing you do is you franchise tag T, because then you have flexible play. Rather, he's going to have to play or you're going to trade him. You have 6 draft picks. Okay? Just being honest, as much as we all want to sit here and bang our chest and say, this guy needs to be gone, this guy's gone, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. 90% of this roster is going to be back next year. You know who might be gone? Maybe Geno Stone. Von Bell might be done because he's almost not playing now. Mike Hilton, he might retire or he might come back. He's through stretches not played bad. So here's what you do. You figure out real fast who's in and who's out for the coming years. You've already paid Chase. You franchised T, which is obviously not, he's not going to be happy because that's his second franchise tag. But if you go in telling him, hey, we're only franchising you so we can trade you and you can have your market and see what the market is, because that's the only way you know what somebody's worth is until they're on the market. And then with what you get from T and the 6 picks you have, you attack the draft with best available O-line and D-line. Okay? And hopefully Cam Taylor-Britt, you're not going to give up on him. They're not going to give up on him. You're not, and they're not going to give up on Dax Hill. And guys like DJ Ivey have, honestly, when healthy, was starting to be the best corner we had. Okay? So you draft as many quality, best available O-line and D linemen with all 6 picks. And I know that sounds insane, but you do that. You get as many guys in the room as you possibly can. And you want to know how I know that's not that crazy of an idea? Because guess who's done that in recent years with few picks? The Rams did before they won the Super Bowl. And the Chiefs have done that. Oh, and guess who else has? Dan Campbell and the Lions. Because if you get as many guys in the room as possible, guess what happens? Accountability and competition, and that's a motherfucker, okay? So you get as many guys in the room, and then when free agency comes, you have to do what this franchise hasn't done traditionally, but has done a few times the past few years. You got to go out, and you got to get at least 1, if not 2, quality veteran corners, okay? Because Jordan Battle is good enough and can hopefully grow and maybe a different system to be a starting safety. Jordan Battle's solid against the run as a safety. He's just bad in coverage because lack of reps. Is he not good? Who knows? He was a 4-year starter at Alabama. They're not going to give up on him after 2 years. So you're going to have Trey Hendrickson back because guess what? He just signed a deal for 2 years. In a perfect world, do we trade Trey Henderson? No. They're going to do exactly what they're doing with T. The Bengals are going to get every year out of him they can. So you're going to have Trey back. You're going to have BJ Hill back. Right. But guess what? You have Miles Murphy still in the pipeline. Joseph Ossai has shown he can line up inside. So again, if you spend all your draft picks, maybe it's 8 because you get 2 picks for T after tag and trading him. You draft all O-line and D-line, okay? And hopefully you're going to hit on somebody who can rush the passer. And then you attack corner with free agency, And guess what? Yeah, you're probably going to have to deal with Yoshi and Charlie Jones and those guys, or maybe somebody else steps up. But Chase Brown has now emerged as a second and third option in this offense. And that's how you fix the Bengals. You literally go after as many trench players as possible in the draft, and you go after corners and safeties and free agents.
They don't go get a pass rusher in free agency to go opposite of Trey Hendrickson to replace Sam Hubbard and reduce Sam Hubbard's snaps. I'm going to be pissed.
Or at least somebody else has to come forward.
So bad at pass rushing, dude, in the past few years, it's ridiculous. You have to go get another pass rusher. You have to go to the Chargers and try to make a deal for Bosa. You got to go get somebody opposite. You can't keep running. Did you see Sam Hubbard last night trying to sink his hips and turn? Oh, my God, dude. He looked like an old man out there, dude.
Unfortunately, though, that would be asking a lot because they're looking to trade away the guys that are excess that they have to pay, not go acquire. Real quick, before we wrap this up, we got about 3 minutes. Let's get quick thoughts on the Titans game and prediction.
Well, one last thing before we go to the Titans game. I'm a huge Micah Parsons fan, and I'm very disappointed how he walked off that field last night and didn't give the Bengals their flowers in midfield. I thought that was pretty classless of Micah, which is not in his character. I understand you're frustrated, you're upset, but don't walk off the damn field, dude. You're not in elementary school.
I wish 2 or 3 Bengals O linemen would have teed off on him after his cheap shot on Burrow.
The comment, in the locker room, are we serious? That's the worst loss you've taken, bro? Lost.
Mike McCarthy said the same thing.
You've lost. They ain't been in the playoffs. They haven't been in there much, dude.
Bro, it doesn't matter. This is your worst loss you've ever taken. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Let's be honest. America's team
you were playing the fourth.
Hasn't done much in the past 30 years.
At home.
As far as the Titans, I'm going to be real upset if we get into a situation where Callahan outcoaches Zach Taylor. I'm going to be really upset.
Titans have been ugly.
Really upset.
But they got some weapons on offense.
And they still got some guys on defense.
Technically, our weapons because Tyler Boyd's on that team.
Right. And you don't want it to turn into some bullshit. You really need this win. You're going to have to win out, and we need the Broncos to stumble and the Colts to stumble. We need some teams to stumble. There is still a path for the postseason, which is hard to believe, but there is still a
3%.
So you can't go in to Tennessee this week and shit the bed. You just can't do it.
3% chance. What's your score prediction?
I'm going to say Bengals 31, Tennessee 17.
31-17. Ray, what's your score prediction?
Not too sure.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we just got to get after Levis early. I think that should be a loose game plan. Get after him as fast as you can. Again, you use our edge blitz, and that's something that's worked for our defense the last couple of weeks.
The only way we get pressure without Trey.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those deals, man. I don't think our offense at this point can stop putting up 30-plus points. I don't think they, I don't think they can stop. And when you look at Tennessee as a whole, I'm gonna say 42-20. That's what I'm going to say. I think we're going to put up 40-plus points on them, man. I don't think it matters.
Let's go.
Well, I'm right there with you.
Thankfully, it's in Tennessee, because, again, we haven't played our best ball at home this year for some reason. So thankfully it's in Tennessee. I think we're going to put up a 40-burger on them, dude.
Yeah, honestly, I'm right there with you. I think this is going to be the second game this year this offense put up 40 points. Burrow's that locked in.
Let's not forget, Tennessee still has pass rushing and capability. So,
that's the thing is Burrow's under duress no matter what pass rushers they're playing. I hate to be that way, but it don't matter. They could be playing the Belmont Bison's D line in Dayton, and Burrow's under duress. I mean, that's just the way it is right now.
It's sad.
Honestly, Amarius Mims has been the best. But anyways, I'm gonna say Ray said 42. I'm going to say 41. 41-17. Your Cincinnati Bengals go into Tennessee and put it on Brian Callahan then.
Get the 6 wins. Let's go.
Here's my.
Go
ahead, Ray.
No, go ahead.
Ray.
No,
I was going to say, you want your obscure bet for the game? I usually give one every week.
What's your obscure bet?
My obscure bet of the week. Ready for this?
Ready.
The Bengals have 3 100-yard receivers.
Bro, come on, bro.
Come on.
You ready for this? Jamar and T. You want to take a guess who the third one is? Gesicki.
Oh, okay.
The Titans are 30th in the league in giving up yards to tight ends. And I looked into it further. No team in the past 14 seasons has given up more yards down the seams to tight ends than this Titans defense right now.
There we go. There's the game plan right there.
So I'm going to say Jamar, T, and Mike Gesicki all have 100 yards receiving. 3 100-yard receivers in one game. Burrow's been having obscure stats all year.
You're saying Burrow's going to go for close to 500 yards passing.
I'm going to say Burrow throws for over 4.
I got a 10-pick parlay, and it's.
I wouldn't 10-pick it.
Oh, it's 10-pick, and the payout, believe it or not, which I find was kind of surprising, but I do have Joe throwing for 4 touchdown passes.
Oh, okay, now peep this, guys.
4 touchdown passes, 350 plus yards, anytime touchdown.
You're correct.
And Chase Brown, the payout on that, dude. There's a couple of 2 more things I have in there. Payout's almost $18,000 on a $20 bet.
I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you guys are correct, and Burrow throws for 400 some yards and that many touchdowns, there is a real possibility that we are going to see the Bengals' first ever 5,000-yard passer and 50 touchdowns, dude. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
because there'll be 3 games to go. 3 games to go, and then all he's got to average is 300 yards a game.
So he's averaging 2.5 per game right now, basically. It's more than that. It's almost 3 per game. We'll say 2.5. 4 games left, right? That's 10 touchdowns. That puts him at 43. If he has a 4 touchdown game, and then we'll say later on in the year another 4 touchdown game, that what I say he would be close to 50. He would be 48.
5,000 passing yards, dude.
3,300, or he's at 3,700 yards. So you're looking at he's at 1,300 yards. The past 4 weeks he's thrown for 18 touchdowns, and the past 7 weeks.
So
he's got a legit shot to be a 5,000-yard passer and a 50-yard touchdown thrower, which will verify you cannot give the MVP to any other quarterback. You have to give it to Saquon.
You see the mentality shift, right? You look at him 2 weeks ago, and then you fast forward to after last night's game, even before the game, right? They've accepted it. Joe and Jamar, they've accepted it for what it is.
It's just a bad year. It is what it is.
They're just here to ball the fuck out at this point, dude. And that's how they're
flex on people.
Literally, bro.
Exactly.
Win or lose, I'm gonna dot you up. You know what I mean? And that's their mentality, and that makes them so fucking dangerous.
And let's hope that the Broncos shit the bed this week, and we get another step closer to that narrow ass path.
To take it a step farther, let's say the Bengals do win out the rest of the year and finish above 500, 9-8, and they don't make the playoffs. This would be the greatest offense to never make the playoffs. Every team in the AFC would be like, thank God the Bengals didn't make the playoffs because Burrow's dropping 5,000 yards.
Can you imagine being a high 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs of the AFC, and you have to play your first game to the 7th seed Cincinnati Bengals? Holy shit!
With Burrow leading in every statistical with the Triple Crown receiver, damn.
I'm just glad that they're still open. We're having fun.
It feels bad, man. It feels bad that the world's going to be denied of them in the playoffs.
It's sad, but it won't be.
Any final thoughts, Ray, Bobby?
The football gods could shine down on us, bro.
Final thoughts. Let's enjoy Hard Knocks tonight. Let's go. And for all you idiots trying to rob Joe Burrow, come on, man. It's the man's birthday. What y'all doing? Fucking idiots.
They're hitting them up.
I swear.
Yeah, man.
Hey, y'all, we appreciate you joining us.
Yep. If you're watching this as a VOD in the coming days, make sure you tune in next week. And at 7:45, we'll be here, and we'll be here for the rest of the season. And yeah,
All right.
per usual, it's a big Who Day. Later, guys.